metabolic, infertility, sterility, impotency, acne, rosacea, psoriasis, big problem in Ireland, 5–6% of you have it here. Why? It's the spuds, by the way, that do that to you. Eczema, menopause, andropause. Men don't think we have menopause. Ladies, I'm going to give you some ammunition the next time you have a fight with your husband. We start our andropause at 26 years old. Where women are doing pretty well till they're 45, 50 years old, and all the ones that hit you, bingo. We've just been fading ever since we're 26. Youth and adult delinquency. Study after study shows you take sugar out and change diets and delinquents, people who are actually incarcerated in jail, there's a radical shift in who comes back and not. The biggest study ever done on that worldwide was done in a very conservative state in America called Georgia, where they had hardened criminals that they put on vegan diets for 2 years before they left. And guess what? The attrition rate, 80% of criminals at that level, robbers, violent criminals, etc., literally returned to prison. Do you know what happened to the group they did this with over a 2-year period? Only 10%, actually 9%, returned when they looked at this 30 years later. Just by changing, getting rid of the sugar and getting rid of the bad food, which, by the way, most of that turns to sugar. Hybridized fruit has, on average, 30 times more than its ancestral origin. So you say, well, fruit's natural. I would like that to be true. It's not true. That fruit today has been hybridized, messed with. So what they mess with it for is they know when a fruit is sweet, it sells a whole lot more. I don't go and buy fruit when it says it's really sour, do I? And they always lie. They say, vine ripened and sweet. So the sweeter it is, the more they're going to sell of it. And they've been manipulating this stuff for centuries. We're becoming proficient at it now with genetics, though. And I predict a day not so long in the future where the elite here, people who have money, like me, are basically going to get a choice. Do you want an A, a B, or a C? And if you get an A, it's going to be sweeter than a B or a C. You're going to watch, because that's where we're heading with genetics at this point now. So human pancreas has been so taxed over the last several generations due to the consumption of processed sugars, they have actually gone on strike, whereas enabling the sugar to go directly into the bloodstream promoted disease. So one of the biggest problems you have, the organ that was supposed to take care of the little tiny minuscule amount of sugar that you find in lettuce, or you find in a unhybridized fruit, broke. The pancreas can't regulate anything anymore because you've been putting kilos and pounds of sugar into your body on a weekly basis. And it just went on strike, just like you would. If I kept you up 72 hours and said you have to work 24 hours a day, even if you wanted to keep working, you'd say, no, I can't do that. So don't think of your body as irrational. It's more rational than you are. It's not going to do its job if you don't feed it, rest it, nourish it, hydrate it, etc. Numerous important findings show that cancer cells can readily metabolize fructose to increase proliferation. This is from a major study done at the University of California, Los Angeles. And fructose mediation is the #1 action. So they looked at cancer cells, every form of cancer, in vitro, and found that out of all of them, the one that the cancer liked the most was fructose. By the way, it was 45% happier, cancer was 45% happier in general with fruit sugar than it was with white sugar. Can you imagine that? And I couldn't have told you that a year ago. We're not diminishing the importance of obesity, but our data suggests that there are additional factors that contribute to diabetic risk besides obesity and total calorie intake. And the sugar appears to play a prominent role. Stanford University, probably the university I respect at the top of the list in the United States, Northern California. The epidemiology cannot directly prove causation, but in medicine, we rely on postulates of Sir Austin Bradford Hill to examine associations to infer causation, as we did with smoking. At one point, when I was a boy, I actually remember the ads where they said smoking was good for your lungs. How many of you are old enough to remember that? great. But now we're starting to see this. But here's the crazy thing as we get to all this. When you look at this, now they realize that there's 35 million deaths a year directly caused from sugar consumption. And now we have people in my government and around the world's governments petitioning new laws that literally put labeling on any food that has any content of processed sugar. Because 35 million deaths a year is not 35 people. And if we're at that point where research is now forcing governments, it's not going to happen quick because the sugar lobbies are very strong, by the way. But you wait a generation. We're going to look back at sugar, I promise you. Young ones listening to you. I promise you. In 20 to 25 years, what we're yelling about here today is going to be mainstream knowledge. And we're going to think about sugar the way we did cigarettes and every other disease-causing substance. Studies have shown that consumption excessive qualities of sugar, processed refined sugars such as sucrose and high fructose corn syrup cause a large urinary calcium excretion increase, both in healthy subject and in those who were prone to kidney stones. There is no surprising since sugar is a highly acidifying food. So all of you running around with arthritis, all of you running around with osteoporosis, now, I bet $1 billion that no doctor has ever told you sugar directly causes that. Now, it absolutely does, and we've been telling people that for 60 years. Because this high acid sugar, again, either from fruit or white sugar cane or whatever else it is, literally draws minerals out of the bones. And so we notice that women that come to us with massive osteoporosis, the biggest concern we have is reversing their addiction to sugar consumption. And if we don't, by the way, even if they eat a good diet, if they replace the white sugar with eating 10 mangoes a day, they're going to still have the osteoporosis. And this is really a big problem on this island because of milk consumption. There's no doubt in any legitimate research scientist's mind that the #1 dietary cause for osteoporosis is milk and dairy food. And why? Because when you consume this high animal protein food with massive amounts of saturated fat, it puts 3 acids into the body, very similar to the acid you find in all forms of sugar. And when you have this acid in your body knows enough that if it remains there in your bloodstream, it will actually eat holes through your intestinal tract and stomach. So it cries out to get minerals to neutralize the acid, and in doing that, it only can get it from your bone structure. Now, weightlifting has a big part to do this too. To rebuild the bones and to maintain the bones, constant weight-resistant exercise for everyone should be part of your lifestyle. Here are the best foods to remedy this. What, milk? Again, bring the president of the Irish Milk Institute here the next time I come, and I will have a debate on television with the president of the Milk Institute. Any of you know these people? Well, get to know them and invite them. And let's have that debate. And let's put it on television. And we'll make it entertaining enough so that, by the way, we may help to save the lives of Irish people who have been conned into thinking milk is good for your bones. Because, again, we'll show the science, we'll show the data, we'll show hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies. We'll give them tsunamis of studies that prove this to you. You want to get good bones? You take almonds and you eat them. You take bok choy, broccoli, spinach, mustard greens, sesame seeds. When I was in the Middle East 30 years ago, I said, why do you come up with that term, open sesame? They said, do you realize that that saved our lives hundreds of times over millennia? And if you now look at the 21st century knowledge of sesame seed, it has massive calcium and a complete protein in it. Now, you wouldn't be happy, but you could literally sustain life by eating sesame seeds. And kale and flax seeds. But there's no money in this, and your government does not subsidize the vegetable industry. It subsidizes the meat and dairy industry. And these boys, unfortunately, don't have lobbyists here in Dublin. Women's health. We're going to be in Stockholm, Sweden in a few days. and having a major symposium on female and women's health, which is becoming a major concern. And let me just give you a little tidbit of this. Do you realize in the last 2 months what happened in the research community? Something we were not even aware of when we researched this stuff. That they now have admitted that every bit of research that has ever been done on females and medicine use in females is flawed. And let me repeat what I've just said to you. That 100% of every drop of, quote, evidence they had on what drugs you should take and how much is flawed. Do you know why? They've never used female animals or females in the studies. They've used males in the studies. So what that means is it would literally take trillions of dollars of research money and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of new researchers. So every drug that the pharmaceutical tells a woman to take should be absolutely immediately, as of today or as of 2 months ago, completely suspect. And why they made an excuse is women had hormones and we didn't get the number results we'd like. Rather than, my God, why should we be dosing women when we don't know how much a woman needs? Now, what I said, does that at all concern any of you here, or did it sort of go in one ear and out the other? It should concern you, because more than half the population are females. There are mothers. Heart disease used to be synonymous with the male population. As time passed, women have now equaled men in numbers via their ever-eroding lifestyles. Women used to hang out at home. You were nesters. You took care of the children. You sort of had some good sense. You didn't eat at fast food restaurants. You didn't smoke cigarettes at the level we did or drink alcohol. Now women are told that if you want to be equal, you have to act like a man. That's stupidity. Act like a woman and ask for respect. That's what you need to do. Don't act like a man. We have enough men. Look what we've done so far. And that's what you have to do. But you're acting like us, and you're getting as sick as us. As a matter of fact, in some areas of the world, women have more heart attacks and strokes than men do. Because you're superseding what a man does just to get a little bit of respect. A recent study reported in our most prestigious journal of medicine in North America, the New England Journal of Medicine, stated that consuming one alcoholic beverage of any type per day on a consistent basis raises your risk of developing all forms of cancer by 10%. Now, you know what studies you hear that they feed to the Irish people? Oh, we did a study, and if you drink alcohol, you live longer. Who the hell do you think funds those studies? And the alcohol in beer is the same alcohol you get in whiskey. So a lot of the Irish I know say, well, I don't drink, I drink beer. What the hell do you think it is? Every cup of beer has a shot of whiskey in it. And that's a literal statement. That's not an opinion. So you can be a drunk on 2 beers a day if you need them every single day, just as much as 2 shots of whiskey, because you're drinking the same amount of alcohol. 2 drinks per day increase the risk by 30%. Again, what is alcohol if I analyzed it? Sugar. Matter of fact, I can't make sugar sweeter than giving you alcohol. And I don't buy into the geneticists. I don't believe most of what they said. Yesterday, I actually, in Birmingham, gave the history of human diet and literally showed how false it was and showed exactly the migration patterns and why some of us do what we do. Because we know the real history of anthropology. But the anthropologists have been saying, along with the geneticists, oh, well, the Irish are predisposed and the Germans are and the English are to drinking. No, we're not. We're sugar addicts. This country, when we were starving, we sustained on bread and potatoes, which are sugar. Our bodies got used to the sugar content. And it's not a stretch of the imagination to want the most sugar you can get in the shortest time by taking some whiskey and shoving it down your throat or something. So this is the patterns, not genetics. You don't become genetically an alcoholic. That's stupidity, if you believe that. Another leading cancer journal reports that 3 to 4 alcoholic beverages per week increases the risk of breast cancer by 34%. And we know this. When we talk to the women, we become intimately knowledgeable about the lifestyles of our guests. They spend 21 days with us. We're not in a doctor's office for 5 minutes rushing you out. We're speaking to people over a 21-day period, and 80% of our guests return. I know more about most of the guests that come back to Buckley's than I do my own family. Because we do every major test you can. We've just added in the last 3 months extraordinary testing called CyberScan and energy biofrequency testing from Russia. And what we learned from that stuns us, to be honest with you. Not only tells us why you have a problem, where the problem comes from, but what problem you'll have if you don't change. And the Russian technology, I just did a Skype with him with my team last Wednesday morning before I got on the plane to come abroad. And this Russian has been working on it. He's a man my age, a little older than me actually, working on this for 35 years. And now we found ways to study the energetic fields of different segments of your body to show on the right side when it's off, it's emotional, on the left side it's physical, and it predicts decades ahead of time what diseases you're going to be prone to. This is the future of medicine. But you're not going to hear about this anytime soon. The women who develop breast cancer, you already have breast cancer, and continue to drink, there's a 51% increase in death. Now, how come I'm telling you this? How many of you here have had breast cancer? Raise your hand. Okay, so the room is filled with you. Has one doctor ever said to you, don't ever smell alcohol, no less don't drink it? If this is evidence in research, solid empirical research, why isn't that part of the dialogue? Because the doctor doesn't know what's going on in research. The frustration I had last weekend with these brilliant researchers is they almost all cried. You know, because we listen to them. Nobody's listening to them. One guy came in with a papers that high, with studies he had been part of publishing for the last 40 years. And what Dr. Yu and I said is, we can't just talk to one another anymore. We've got to get the public to know what really is going on. But there is a monster machine suppressing that information, suppressing that you shouldn't be drinking. And I think if the average person who has some common sense was like, hey, you realize you're going to get cancer 30 times more if you take a few drinks a week. You'd think the second time before you slug down a beer. You'd think the second time, certainly if you already have cancer, that you have over half better chance of dying from breast cancer if you drink. A tumor is like a car, a gas-guzzling Hummer, with a stuck accelerator and no brakes. The insulin keeps the gas tank full. This is Thomas Jefferson University, one of our great research institutes in America. And that's what your body is like. Proper fuel. 2 moderate green salads can provide enough glucose as a fuel to the cells for a 200-pound, 90-kilo person. So you say, well, I need to have sugar because it's a good thing. Eat 2 green salads a day, you have all the sugar a 90-kilo person needs. Now, most of you here aren't 90 kilos, just the guys that hang out in the pubs are. But the reality is, if you took a salad and a half, or a salad for the petite ones in here, anything beyond that is too much sugar for the body. Chlorella. This stuff's miraculous. Today in England and tomorrow here in Dublin, I'm going to get up and I'm going to take 20 chlorella. I'm going to also take 4 other types of algae. Why? These are primal foods. Massive protein. Easy to digest. They come in, give you nutrition, and leave the body. These are the kind of things you need to hear about. Not the 91% of supplements on the market that will kill you. Most supplements on the market are made out of oil, coal tar, and turpentine. They are dangerous for you. Not only do they not affect you in a positive way, they deflect from your health. These are whole food, living supplementation. Don't waste your money on the nonsense and the propaganda. Even the, quote, natural doctors have been corrupted into believing. If you're interested in truth, some of you are. The Irish are usually pretty good at that. Read my book, Supplements Exposed. And see another area. Even the natural health industry has conned you. It's not just the evil empire. Because guess what? 80% of supplements originate in the pharmaceuticals industry. 80% of supplements originated in a pharmaceutical company. And then it's sold, the raw material quite often, put in the bottle by 2 loving people who are great at words. And they say, dear brothers and sisters, let's save the earth, as you're polluting your system and weakening your immune system by putting a deadly chemical into you. But I'm a major fan of supplements like chlorella. Look what it does. Excellent source of protein. Matter of fact, 52% protein. Nothing even comes close to that, other than another algae, blue-green algae. 52% protein. Red meat, if you slaughter